try to let that go a little bit longer than I normally would, because that is an awesome profile pic, my friend. Um, before I get started here, can you give me proper pronunciation on your name?
There is none. It's whatever you like. So
I
it's
like it. Well,
Weghuz.
I'm an
Vegas.
yeah, I can't pass up on the opportunity to call you Weghuz. So yeah, no, welcome everyone. Welcome at another episode of a Candor Gander, a DFK variety show where we get to meet the community one interview at a time. If you've not grabbed a drink, feel free to grab one, take a seat, and welcome to the flock. Before I get started, I want to go ahead and, if you've not already, there is a King Sumo giveaway that I'll be doing by the end of the show. So I'll go ahead and drop the link here in a minute. Um, and then without further ado, let's, well, before I get started here, I just want to remind everyone to please consider a like, a subscribe, turn on those notifications, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff. We'll go ahead and set the theme for the stream today. And it sounds deep, but it'll be relevant here towards the end, I think. So it's easier to build up a child than it is to repair an adult. Anonymous. And I know it sounds deep, but it's not. And I think it's very much related to what you've helped built out here. So let's introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? How did you hear about DFK?
All right. That's a deep quote.
It is deep,
So,
but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. It'll make sense.
I'm Vegas. I made DFK analytics. I've been into DeFi Kingdoms since October last year. Been questing heroes since the quests came out frantically. Was it in I think it was December of last year. It's like December 10th or something. We got the first quests. I'm a programmer for job and hobby at the same time. Played a lot of games. Started playing games at 4 years old, so it's always been slight bit of an interest, or a huge one. You
No,
could
I
say.
mean it's boy, and did you pick a good career path? I have my degree is in history, and I'll tell you there aren't many history jobs out there. So I've pivoted along the way. Programming, pretty cool, pretty relevant, and I think it'll become more and more relevant. I think as time goes on, for sure. What where are you joining from? Part of the world. Where's home?
I live in Sweden. As if you're from the Nordics, you could probably hear from my voice. It's usually the case. It's an identifier, but yeah, the west coast of Sweden is where I.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So, I had asked you for some topics of interest, some things that you enjoy and you like, programming being one of them, and we'll circle back to that here at the end. Let's talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is also
Mhm.
one of your favorite subjects.
Awesome.
Let's talk about food. Now,
Oh,
food's big for you. It's big for me. Let me show you one of my favorite foods.
all
My
right.
wife is like, too much, too much. But I love sushi. I love my sushi. I love this specific sushi restaurant in town.
Wow.
It's a sushi deli. It's amazing. Is it traditional? Probably not. It's a Rastafarian themed sushi restaurant. It's a little shack, and I kid you not, you can smell the Rastafarian influence coming from the kitchen from time to time. So,
Wow.
but it's good.
What is the Rastafarian influence anyway? Like,
So
it's
yeah,
not
so the
huge in
Rastafarian,
Sweden.
yeah, so it's a lot of Bob Marley decorations up on the wall. They have the
Of
Bob
course.
Marley music. You can smell the natural herbs coming from the kitchen, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
from time to, I'm exaggerating. I'm exaggerating, of course, but no, it's really neat. It's really it's very like a Jamaican feel sushi restaurant. I talked to one of the people who work there, the owners. Very much so. He was I think he's Japanese, moved stateside, but he was a very big Bob Marley fan. Wanted to create a restaurant sort of themed around him.
That's
So
awesome.
he married the two ideas. So it's sushi and and Jamaica. So he has different sushi dishes. One's like the Bob Marley and I think this is it here on one of
Yeah.
them on the screen.
That's so out there too. When you think about the Japanese guy making a sushi restaurant, you wouldn't
I
think it would be
Yeah,
anything but traditional, right?
exactly. Yeah, and fusion of sorts. They're out there in the world, but Jamaican Japanese sort of like kind of different. But what are your favorite foods? What do you like?
My favorite food is actually sushi as
Is
well.
it really? Get out
Yeah.
of town. No way. Okay. That's convenient. So what about sushi?
Um, I don't know. It just I feel like you're just you can eat an infinite amount and you don't feel too heavy afterwards. I love the. I mean, it's fake wasabi. I've never had the real deal,
Oh,
obviously, as it's
same
like.
here. Yeah, I don't know what real wasabi. I well, and here, this is probably not a problem you find or you would have imagined in Sweden, but being Californian with Mexican roots,
Yeah.
when I first had wasabi, when I first saw wasabi, I was like, oh my god, how cool! They serve you sushi with this slab of guacamole. Let me slather that on my sushi. I took a big bite, and it was like my
Yeah.
mouth was on fire. I mean, never make that mistake again.
That's
Um,
not an issue I've had, actually.
yeah, you
My
would
my
never
dad's
confuse
also
the
a
two.
chef, so
Oh well, there you go. Yeah, no, when I say I'm a foodie, I guess I'm more of a fatty. So if it looks good, I'll eat it.
same
uh,
here.
so food. You said food with sushi specifically. What about sushi? I mean, for me, it's a sort of complex flavor profile. But what do you like about it?
I don't know, I just I think the ginger and I actually, like, it might sound disgusting, but after I mix, the wasabi with the soy, and when
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
little bit left at the end, I drink it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't blame you. It doesn't sound weird to me.
Um,
Um,
but
I
it's just like the soy and wasabi, the combo with the rice and everything,
yeah, no, no, amazing for
it's just
sure.
great.
So I have to ask you about some traditional Swedish dishes. I was doing some homework, and
Oh, yeah.
herring like comes up a bit. But I found something I'd never heard, and I want and it sounds and reading up on it, it was like you're on the fence. You either like it or you don't like it, and it doesn't matter whether or not
Mhm.
you're Swedish. So I want to get your input on it. Um, what can you tell me about blood pudding?
Had it many times. I actually do like it. I've
You like it?
Yeah. We get it at or we got it, used to get it. We probably get it still in school. Um, and it's either that or potato balls, they call it, I think. A lot of people don't like blood pudding, so they eat the potato balls with the bacon and lingonberry side instead of the blood pudding. But I always enjoy the blood pudding, so I'll
So
stick that over the
yeah,
thing. But
so for those of us who don't know, and and even myself, and I did some background research on it, right? But what is blood pudding? What sort of goes into a blood pudding
Um, it's
dish?
I think it's pork blood, and it's some wheat flour, and I think that's basically. I'm not entirely sure on what the ingredients are. I've never made my own. You just like buy a log from the store, you slice it up, and then you fry it in a pan with
Yeah,
oil
yeah,
or
yeah.
butter. So I am actually not entirely clear on what's in it, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
do like.
and you eat it and you drink it. You accompany it with milk, right?
Yeah, that's usually the case. I think in school we do get milk with food,
Yeah.
which is interesting. You used
Um.
to, at least. I think I still do.
So now now that we're on the food subject, I'm sure you've seen if you've hung around the DFK Discord for a minute, the pineapple pizza. memes, right?
Oh
You know, they'll
yeah.
come in. Um, but you know, something that I think is, and I could be wrong, so you'll correct me. Something that I think and I had heard and I had read somewhere was uniquely sort of Swedish. So not pineapple pizza, but banana pizza. Is that a thing? Is that true?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
That's
explain that to me. Yeah, so banana pizza, like how does that? What's that flavor profile? I mean, it sounds very different.
I mean, it's sweet like pineapple too, but a bit more carby, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. A lot of people don't like sweet things on their pizza. I do.
Yeah.
The kebab sauce in Sweden is on another level. So
Mm.
if I was having a pizza with, I do order. It's called frutti in Sweden. It's pineapple, banana, cheese, and tomato sauce, and there's curry, I think, and sometimes there's also peanuts on that pizza, and then I also add on top the kebab sauce. And that's
Oh,
a pizza I've actually ordered many times, so
yeah. Well, and
it
I
is
think
very
the
true.
one,
That's a Swedish
yeah,
thing.
yeah, and I think the one on the screen has the pineapple, has the banana. I mean,
Hmm.
it sounds unconventional, but then I think I have, half the stuff I eat as an American, it's like I'm sure someone else would find that not very interesting or sort of
Oh, yeah.
appealing as well. But no, but it's cool. It's great. Let's talk, let's move back to you and some of the other stuff you like. Programming and gaming. Tell me about, I know you're a programmer, but you know, how did you marry your love for programming, gaming, and DFK? Like, how did that sort of intermix for you?
Well, it's kind of a journey. At first, I was just playing DFK, and I haven't actually been a programmer professionally for very long. It's been a bit over a year now. Um,
Yeah.
I went to school for games programming in a town called Skövde.
Okay.
So they have a pretty large program for games.
Yeah.
So we did projects there where you work with all aspects. There are writers and there are composers and like 3D, 2D artists. It was really cool to make. We had like 20 weeks to make a project with people from all of the different programs working together. So really enjoyed that experience. And I've never worked with games though, but
Well,
I it's really interesting to me, game design, and I think things like that. But I ended up moving to my current partner, and I've been looking for jobs in programming, and I
hmm.
found a web designer job that was like 10 minutes away from where I live. So
Oh, convenient.
got really lucky with that one a bit over
Yeah.
a year ago. But yeah, I was playing DeFi Kingdoms every day and like questing these heroes, right? And I was in hero discussion in the Discord
Yeah.
and um, just talking about all of these things. And I ended up just like being upset about people having um, very opinionated write-ups on stats and things that weren't necessarily based in the game, but were just their theory, and people shared it as if it was something that was part of the game when it was really just some guy that came up with it. Um,
That was
so I was
probably
like,
me. I was. I mean, I don't know.
uh, it was actually a guy called what was it? I can't remember his name now. Well,
But it was someone else. Yeah.
yeah, it was someone, but I ended up writing the Medium article on class score,
Mm.
and I hadn't started coding anything uh, with DeFi Kingdoms at that point, and I didn't really do programming as a hobby then because I was so like just still learning for my new job as a web
Mhm.
programmer.
Mhm.
But when I wrote that paper for the class score, I saw that there's actually no way for people to connect this class score to the heroes in the game. So I felt
Right.
like I actually had to make a website to do that. And that's how I started making DFK Analytics.
and
Um,
and it I it's one of my favorite sites, and we were trying to get Mr. Three Wolves on because I like DFK Analytics. He loves DFK Analytics. And he introduced me to it. We'll try and get him on for a future show. But um, as far as the site, so I know you found utility there. You sort of a gap. You try to fill it with what you knew, and it's been great. Um, I know there are other sites, right? But what makes yours unique? What makes yours different, in your opinion?
um, I feel like it's the clarity of what it's supposed to be and what you can do on the site, and like the pages clearly state up front what they're for. They don't have any like instructions. I don't have a manual for the site, but there are so many people that just share it and use it anyway. And I think that's just like, I hope it's a testament to the user interface, because I hate bad UIs. Like
Oh,
it's a pain.
and we'll talk about that. Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, no. I love it. No, I'm glad you brought that up. We'll definitely talk about that. Um, so I know how I use the site. I use it, to be able to. I mean, and then this goes back to what I was referencing, right? That quote. So I'll go back
Hmm.
to it real quick. So, it's easier to build up a child than it is to repair an adult. And while it sounds deep, the analogy here for me is it's easier to pull a a good hero and make him a great hero than to find and buy a hero that's been sort of, and I've done this myself, especially at the beginning. I think a lot of new people do this. You get your hero and it's like, oh, let me boost that stat and that stat and that stat. And you're at level 5 and it's like, there's no going back.
Oh yeah.
There is no going back. So it's nice to be able to have a website, to be able to go back, go to reference and say, hey, you know what? This is a factually better hero, right? Because you can have a level 10, Dread Knight that's been sort of, not boosted properly, and in a night that has been, and the night could conceivably be much better. How do you use the site, and how do you suspect, or what was your thought process behind how people would utilize your site?
I mean, it is still speculation, and I want that to be clear as well, because
Absolutely,
people
absolutely.
value different stats very
Hmm.
differently. And I think the one measure we have that's based in the game is the growth scores, right? So
Hmm.
that's what I base the score on, and I think that's the one relevant, like speculative thing we have for stats. And there is also more things, of course, like the advanced skills and many other aspects of heroes that play a role. But I just kind of I use my own site all the time. I don't use any of the other sites pretty much. I just built a site that I want to use, and
Yeah, yeah,
if I want a feature, I make it. And that's kind of how I go
that's
about it,
amazing. Yeah,
developing it.
yeah, no, that is amazing. Can you maybe walk us through some of your features for those of us who have used the site, and maybe someone like me, maybe I'm underutilizing the site. Let me pull it up, and maybe you can just tell us about your site, and then I'm sure most of you would have seen it. I'll drop the link here in the chat box for you all to see as well. But here's your site.
Yeah,
Walk us through some of those features.
this is the V1 site as well. There is a link to the V2 beta at the top. I
Mm,
haven't
mhm,
done anything on this since Crystal Veil came out. I fixed the IDs slightly, but
mhm.
you can't see if it's being sold in Crystal Veil or in Serendale right now on the V1. So I only use the V2 site and have been for a very long time. I really want to get in the custom columns, but I think if you go to the V2 site instead, I am going to switch it out so that
Yeah, let me find that. And while
the
I'm
the
doing
site
that,
hosted on Vercel is
yeah,
on
while
the
I'm doing that,
.com address soon.
Oh, hey, what a beautiful plug here. I love the site already. I'm not biased. um, there is a question, and before we get to the site here, and I'll share it here. I'll switch things here in a minute, but are there plans to build in alerts by any chance? Any thoughts for
um,
that?
that would have to come after a lot of other things like database I have myself. Right now, I just query the API, and there are other options for alerts as well. I think DFK tools I linked it in the chat. I've talked to the guy that made the DFK tools as well a lot, and he's a really smart guy. So they have alerts linked to Discord, so you can get Discord alerts when a hero comes on sale and stuff like that. But
Beautiful,
I'm I'm not planning to make it in the near term on my site
right,
because it's something that's not like close in terms of the features I have right now.
right. Right. No, no, and I get that. So here's your 2.0 site. Like I said, I love your front page here. It's beautiful, not biased. But walk us through what's on this page.
um, so I have the heroes page, and the pets page is kind of new, but I guess starting on the heroes page would be it used to be the front page of the 2.0 site, but
Mm-hmm.
I added this like a bit of info as I added a Discord channel quite recently as well, to just
Perfect.
take
Yeah.
some feedback from people. I've
Yeah.
had some feedback in there. Also, when I do new things, it's uh, linked in the Discord for people to see and
Yeah.
follow
No.
what's happening and what's new. So when you go to the heroes, you get all the heroes for sale in the
Mm-hmm.
tavern
And how
right
often does
now.
this page update?
It's from the DeFi Kingdoms API, and that's
Gotcha.
live based on when the heroes come up.
Oh, oh, that's
Or
amazing.
so you just refresh the site and you get the newest heroes.
That's great. I didn't know that. I thought it was like every hour or something. No, if it's
I don't
and
know,
I
it's
just
pretty
saw
much
it.
instant nowadays.
Yeah, no, I just saw it. Here I hit refresh and I saw new heroes. Here's now some of them move. That's impressive.
You can also press filters, I think, now, and just press search, and it should. I don't know. It might cache the heroes actually.
Oh,
Um,
this is great. I love it. You can okay. You had some of these features before, but they sort of pop nicer. I like that. I think Three Wolves was talking about user interface. I love the interface. I'll tell you some, and again, going back to it's all speculative, right? Some of the things I do enjoy about your site that some others might do. But this was the first site I got introduced to, and sort of the one I keep coming back to.
mhm.
When I'm looking to buy a hero, for me, and this is me, and people have different strategies. For me, it's like, oh hey, is it a PJ hero? I can
Oh,
sort
yeah.
by that, right? The other thing is, yes, class score, yes, growth score. I also, I'm very much interested in, the active and the passives. Are they advanced, elite, etc., what have you? And that sort of is speculative in and of itself. But there's a lot of way. I can, and I've spent many of hours just siphoning and um I joke with Three Wolves. Your site is the best and worst site for me because it only feeds the beast, right? It's like, oh, we'll be chatting back and forth. It's like, oh man, dude, did you see this hero? This hero just got posted. Like, no way. I think it's underpriced. I think it's this. I think and it's like, oh, who's
Uh,
gonna snag it? So it's pretty fun. I mean, it's definitely pretty fun. Um, Pets. You mentioned pets, so pets is new.
oh
So
yeah, that's only on the V2 site, as that's the one I've been developing recently, and this is using Next.js, which is enabling a lot of cool things. So if you press a hero in the list, you go to the hero details, and that's on a completely separate page.
okay, so it'll take me to a different page. So
Yeah,
what I do again? I'm sorry.
but
Ha, ha,
this loads in the pet, so this is something I made
Oh, okay.
quite recently as well. But if you go back to the heroes,
Yeah,
it's just if you click a hero in the list, the
there we go.
heroes page. I don't know
Oh,
if it's
I
slow or
see it.
anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you see it? Updated on your end?
Yeah, you're on the pets page now, right?
No, heroes. Maybe there's a
Oh
lag
yeah, I'm
on the
I'm looking
screen.
at the stream. I'm dumb. Sorry.
Oh, no, 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 no worries, no worries. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so
Of
yeah, I
course, there's a
clicked on a
delay there.
hero.
Yeah. All right.
Growth
Cool.
recessives. Okay.
So if you press back now, you should the table shouldn't reload. It should be exactly where you left off. So
Oh,
it might take a second to pop in, but you can scroll down, click a hero, and then press back, and it's exactly where you left off. So that's something that I've made quite
that's
recently,
that's convenient. That
and
that is
you
really convenient.
it's also in the URL. So if you go to a hero, you can actually take the URL at the top and link it to someone, and it links to that hero.
Ooh, that'll make DFK degenning a bit easier. Three wolves. That's great. That's great. No, I love it. This is it's amazing. Um, what what are your what are your biggest sort of obstacles you've had to overcome building your site out?
Oh God. I don't, like I'm learning the tech behind the site as I go because it's not something I've done before, and I'm using a lot older of a like technology for my work. So the things that the FK Analytics V2 is built on now is something that's completely new for me, and
Yeah.
I've actually learned as I built the site. I was like just looking at videos for a couple weeks to a month at first just to learn. And then I just started building the site from scratch, and I've revamped so many things back and forth, and like changing just how I look at what's most efficient and how to like make the code readable and stuff and make it expandable is, I think it's the biggest challenge for me personally, as
So
I'm
there's a
self-taught for the most
oh,
part.
hey, you're doing a better job than I could have. I can fake it till I make it, but I can't fake it that well. So here's a comment. And then there's a follow-up sort of question for you. So Three Wolves ask or sort of suggest, hey, considering adding a background column to the
Definitely.
heroes. Um, as far as, and I know you just started your Discord. How open are you to feedback? Like if someone here on the stream had some feedback for you or a request, and of course, like I could ask for, hey, I want this super cool special thing, and you might just be like, hey, it's hard, it's impossible, or I'm not interested. But are you open to feedback from the
Oh
community?
yeah, I'm completely open. I know that people have insane expectations sometime, and I mean, not everyone is a programmer or haven't don't have experience, right? So it's my job to weed out what's possible and not, and how I
Right.
want to prioritize it. So any feedback is more than welcome, and it also makes me uh, know more what people want, right? So
Of
that's really
course.
important, and I think that's also why I want to open a Discord to get more feedback, hopefully, and I want
Yeah.
people to get involved and
Yeah.
say
No, of
things
course.
about it.
So we'll come back to the conversation. Let's in the interest of time, let's move to a segment I like to call "You Spin Me Around." All right, so we're gonna ask you a question. Gonna be sort of not DFK related, conceivably, potentially. Maybe we make it DFK. Who knows? But let's see. I'm
Interesting.
gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and spin a wheel here.
All right.
Um, and you will tell me. And let's go ahead and I'm spinning it, and I'll go ahead and show this here on the stream here. All right. So our question was, all right, what's the worst job you've had?
I haven't,
You've,
God. I haven't had many actually. Um, oh yeah, I did used to play Hearthstone professionally as a
oh,
streamer for several years actually
okay.
after school, and I joined a team at one point that sent me to a competition in Norway, where I didn't win anything. And after I went on the trip and they told me they'd pay for it, they essentially ghosted me and they didn't
No!
pay for shit. So
Oh
I
my
had to pay
god!
it off out of my own pocket. And I was a poor student at
Oh
the time. So it was pretty heartbreaking. And I've been
no!
a lot more wary since. It's probably a good lesson to get early in life, but
Some of the best lessons are the expensive lessons that come at your own expense, right?
yeah,
Unfortunately. Oh, that's terrible. Talk about being yeah, that's probably one of the worst ghosting stories I've
yeah.
heard.
I mean, it
Um,
still had a great time at the tournament, and it wasn't that expensive to go there anyway, so
oh, but it's the
probably wasn't the
principle.
worst thing. Yeah,
Hey, if you were anything like me growing up as a kid, $20 was like the end of the world. So, a trip from Sweden to Norway, I'm sure was more than $20.
yeah.
No, well that's thanks for sharing. We'll go ahead and move on to what did the fox say? So this is a segment where we talk about some DFK news. Now, um, I know you said you were a programmer, you love programming, you love gaming. This is sort of it's old news, but sort of relevant because they just posted a video on it. And I don't know if you've seen it or if our audience has listened to it, but it was Pie Face speaking at the AVAX Barcelona conference. She was talking about
Mhm.
UX and Web
Yeah.
3.0. Um, as a programmer, I figured you'd probably have a thing or two to say about DFK user experience. What are your thoughts? What are your takes? I mean, because you must see it from a different perspective, certainly one that I don't see it from a different lens.
Generally, I think it's quite good actually. Um, I don't have any huge pain points or anything that I'd necessarily change. I don't think there are any glaring faults in it right now that I can think of.
As a programmer yourself, are there ever moments where you're like, you're at an AMA or you're listening to an AMA or in the Gen Chat or what have you, and you hear, criticism, sometimes constructive, sometimes not, at the expense of like the team, and it's like, why aren't you doing this? Or why is this taking so long? And do you sit there, as a programmer and sort of roll your eyes and are you thinking to yourself, oh, if you guys knew how hard this is?
It's happened more than once. Let's say that it's happened a lot. Um, there are so many expectations, but it's also, I mean, I've had a very big conviction since I got into DFK and I read more about it and got into it and the depth of the heroes and everything. And I've been to each and every AMA
Hmm.
since I got into it, and I feel more bullish now than I've ever done before, and each week it just builds on to it. So
Yeah,
I,
no,
I,
and
I do feel people are a bit harsh sometimes, but I mean, again, not everyone is a programmer, and I think we also, as programmers, need to have an understanding that everyone can't know everything, right? And there has to be a
yeah,
place for everyone to say what they think, and yeah.
no, no, for sure. No, and I sort of put myself in this position, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, DFK launched, I think it was August 22nd of last year.
Hmm.
We're in June, and they're launching DFK duels. We saw the roadmap, and I saw the roadmap, and I'm looking at the roadmap, right?
Hmm.
And I'm thinking PvP, PvE, it's in the fog. It may not happen to until Q3, Q4, maybe next year. Oh, it's not soon enough. Um, but I sit back and I sort of, now I sit back and I think about it, and I wonder and I think, oh, you know what? They've accomplished a lot in a little less than a year. Um, are for those of us who, and I include myself in that camp, right? Who at times feel a bit impatient. and sort of maybe have higher expectations, rightfully or wrongfully, right?
Hmm.
About what is and what isn't being done. What would you tell someone who isn't sort of in the know? Um, maybe put us at ease and give us some words of wisdom
Um, about the amount of work that goes into DFK, or
about the amount of work, about what has been done, and about how and I hear, in thinking about what Pie Face was saying, she had
yeah.
a quote, something to the effect of, um, if as a designer, as a programmer, if you wait for perfect, then perfect never happens. So,
Hmm.
you keep pushing and pushing deadlines, and but what would you say to that? I mean, how do you sort of, to the layperson, how do you explain it to us to say, hey, you know what? It's not as slow as you may think it is.
It's a really tough one. I think I don't really want to talk for the team either because I haven't seen their code, right?
Right.
I'm not a dev, so I can't really talk for how much work they've put in, but the
Hmm.
impression that I've gotten from the AMAs and the devs being in the Discord chat and just the general, like, they are active in the community on Twitter, on Discord and everything, and they're there every week. They're making cool shit. They're giving spoilers out in general, right? The impression I've gotten for 9 months now is that they are very genuine and they care a lot about the project, and they put a lot more hours in than I do for my full time job. And I have nothing but respect for the devs and the amount of work that I've put in. But I can't say exactly what they've done. But I mean, I do know that getting the solidity to work, the smart contracts to work with the front end and getting that synced up, and they have a public API open to the community that I use for DFK analytics, right? That's something that they've opened up to the community for free to use and to build on top of, which I think is insane. And it's really cool that they provide the server for us to use the hero data and the pet data and everything to display on third party sites,
Yeah.
and for us to build around the game and expand on it. And that's we don't pay for it or anything. Like, they try to connect with the devs in the community, and just if they I think what talks for it the most is just I feel like the care that's gone into it. And
So question for you then, and to sort of wrap up the topic, are what, from what has been done, and that someone like myself could overlook and think, maybe not blink twice about it, from a programming perspective, what has impressed you the most to date about DFK as a whole?
I think the amount of thought that went into the first iteration of the hero NFTs, the advanced skills and the genes and the mutations, and like expanding into additional trees of classes and having an ultimate class on top that's to be revealed later. Everything was built into the NFTs from the beginning, like that they gave out to Gen Zeros. You can't just remake them. They're on the
Mm-hmm.
chain, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have things that are right now, it's called stats unknown, but they have implemented into the heroes, and they can mutate also, which is really weird. But they plan to implement with other projects somehow, or like when they need another stat slot on the hero to use for something, it's there. So like they've put in so much already that that's
That's
not
amazing.
even in the game. I think
That's
that's super
amazing.
cool.
Yeah, no, that's something I had not heard before. So they and it makes me think about how much more impressive the game is, right? Because you've not only had to build the game from scratch, you've had to build the game with a 5, 10, 20 year, however long, right, foresight of,
Yeah.
you know, building in things you can go back to and sort of fill these slots. Yeah, these unknown slots. That's interesting. What did you call them? How are they referenced to again?
I think they're called stats unknown. I do
Okay,
show them on DFK Analytics.
okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. That's interesting. Something I would have not thought about. Um, and then, so no, thanks for sharing your thoughts there. I mean, tremendous insight for me, to be able to, um, wrap my head around. I think we all tend to take things for granted, um, and you see the whole picture. You oftentimes miss the little sort of tiny minutia,
Yeah, for
the thing
sure.
that goes underappreciated. So thanks for that insight. Let's go to a different game. Let's go to I think one of my favorites here. Are you faster than our gas? Now, though, for those of you who have not seen the show before, or sort of recap for you, uh, Weghuz,
Mhm.
it's so we're gonna have three questions. There is a prize. Prize is bragging rights. So, are you faster than
Ooh.
our guests? Right? You can brag about it. You can type it in the chat box. Oftentimes, chat box is slower than the actual video itself. So you may not be able to get your answer in, but we'll see if we can stump our guest. I'm trying to make these harder and harder. So, if you miss some of these, it's not you. It's just our guests are more knowledgeable than I give them credit for, and I come up with some not so hard questions. So we'll see if I can stump you to there. See if
All
I can
right.
stump our audience today.
I think
All right,
this is gonna be
question
fun.
one. What is the max supply of Jewel?
500 million.
500 million. See, I gotta make them harder. That's right. All right. Okay. Maybe, switching it up a bit. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. What does the parrot in the Serendil doc say?
I don't know that actually.
Oh, no way. Does someone in the audience know?
Is is that in the Serendale docs?
Yep. Serendil docs. Yep.
Oh wow. I'm actually kind of bad at looking at things. I
No, I hear you. Hey, you're good at some things. Um, so yeah, so for those of you, and there you go, three wolves, bullish. There you go. Bullish is what the parrot
Ooh.
says. So if you ever, yeah, so if you're ever on there, feel free to act the Kupo nice. Yes, if you're ever on there, feel free to click on that parrot, and it'll quack at you or squawk at you. Bullish. All right, final question. True or false? More heroes were summoned than sold yesterday. This is yesterday when I was building my questions here. So again,
True.
true or true. Okay, so you're saying true. Yeah, that is true. So for those of you who are curious, um, we had 1,146 heroes summoned. And I thought it'd be much wider of a difference, but we had 1,127 sold. So not that wide
Wow.
a margin. So we're almost, yesterday, I mean, every day is different, but we're
Hmm.
almost at a 1-to-1 ratio there. So not bad, not bad.
Yeah, I think generally the volume and like the amount of heroes sold are lower than I thought when I saw some data for it, and have seen at different points. I think Mr. Zipper's data from like I think it's every other week now, or what is it? It releases a report or every week. Looking at that, I think it shows volume of heroes sold and heroes summoned and a bit like that. So I think on average, the amount of heroes summoned are more than the sold. So that's why I said true for that.
Yeah, well, and I don't know what everyone's strategy now is. With Jewel being at the price it's at, I almost find it hard not to summon. Right?
Mhm.
It's almost like enticing. So the
Yeah.
way I've taken it as is, if ever I wanted a Dread Knight or a Sage or a Dragoon, now's the time to start trying to summon those. Because maybe,
Yeah.
hopefully at some point someday, Jewel picks up when the market turns around as a whole. Um, and those opportunities may not come back again.
Yeah.
And quite the opposite too. Price could always sort of swing downwards some more, but never, never. Best time is the present, is what I say, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
I've
so
never
all
not
right.
summoned, so
Oh my God, yeah, no, and I've always told myself, oh, okay, all right, if it's under, back when Jewel was, because I got in when Jewel was at $18, right?
mhm.
Back when it was at that price, it's like, all right, now that Jewel's under $10, I'm gonna keep summoning until it goes over 10, and that's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
And it came down. It's like, all right, $5. Once it comes down, over once it goes over $5, I'm done, or and my threshold has slowly changed. Um, so yeah,
I I
so
ne I never think about the amount of dollars I put into summons and stuff because most of my money I think I've sold upwards of I think I've sold over 200 heroes.
oh wow,
So
yeah,
I've summoned 250 something now.
yeah,
So
no,
I,
that's impressive.
I
That's
keep
impressive.
funding the new summons with the old sales. So it's not like I put in new money for each summon.
No, and
So
no, absolutely, no, that's a great point. The way I do it, and we all have our own strategies, right? I have LP from the
mhm.
gardens. I roll over. I've sold heroes. Um, So it's not like I'm putting in additional necessarily collateral. Not that I haven't. I mean, I do, but it's not as much as I would have otherwise. And yeah, the LP sort of emissions have changed recently, so that's made it harder because I used to
Yeah.
get more. We all used to get more, but it is what it is. Um,
When I
thoughts?
first start,
Hmm.
huh?
No, no, no. Tell me, yeah, when you first started.
When I first started, I had LPs in the garden for a week, and then I sold a portion of my LPs to buy my first hero. And I think I rented a hero to summon. I took out enough to summon once,
Yeah.
and then I took out enough to summon with my one hero and rent another again. And then I sold the hero for like, I think it was a common, and I sold it for like, it was a Gen 2 common. I sold it for like 210 jewel. I can still
Oh
see my first sold
wow.
hero. I guess way
No
back.
way.
So it was
Wow.
basically an arbitrage to just summon heroes and just dump them
I
pretty much
know.
and keep summoning. And I've been
Yeah.
doing that ever since, right? Like just churning out more and more. But hmm.
Yeah, no. I am disgusted by my first summoning. It's like everything they tell you not to do when you summon a hero. Like I did it.
Oh
It
yeah,
was like a it was a mismatched, like I think it was a pirate gardener, who was, Gen 2 with 7 summons left out of 10, and an archer gardener who, it was terrible. Needless to say, I sent them, I sent the two of them out to the PJ,
yeah,
because it was one of those like, all right, redemption, sending them off to, to say their goodbyes. And I joked, I say they came back just to spite me and rub it in my face so that I never forget my mistakes. And I've kept them. I've had opportunities to sell them. It's nostalgia, of course. My first two heroes,
yeah,
um, one and then two. I bought them when they were $18, and I can't fathom the idea of selling them for anything less than $18 jewel. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, no, I mean it's interesting how you go and you learn, and how tools like yours, DFK Analytics, come in handy. I mean it's definitely one of those things that has improved my summoning ability. There are others out there, but it's definitely one of the ones I keep coming back to. So
that's awesome to hear.
let's go to my next game. Let's end
Cool.
this with a bang here. Duck Duck Goose. For those of you who've not seen Duck Duck Goose before, there's two lies and a truth. And your job, Weghuz, is to
Hmm.
identify which one's the truth, which ones are the two lies. So I'll read them, let you contemplating audience, again, mythic bragging rights at stake here. Uh, All right, so here we go. Number one,
All right.
according to the Harmony dashboard, in the last 7 days, 7,682 heroes have been sold. So that's true or false. I'll let you think about it. Number two.
Uh, okay. Mhm.
You can answer. You can answer if you'd like. You could change your answers along the way.
Oh no.
All right, that's one. All right,
hold
number
on.
two. According to DFK Analytics, you may have heard of this site. The most
Yeah.
expensive hero for sale last night was a mythic PJ Dread Knight that was selling for 50,000 jewel. That
Okay.
true or false? And then number three, pet with the ID number 1 is a turtle. Which one of these is the goose? Which one of these is truth? And I can repeat them for you.
I think the first one's the truth, and the second and third are false.
Oh boy, I thought I was gonna stump you. You're right. Yeah, so we had 7,682 heroes that sold um in the last 7 days. And yes, pet number 1 is not a turtle. I think it's a crab or something. And here, and I'll share this one with you. And maybe we can talk a bit about this here. So yeah, so according to DFK Analytics last night, a mythic PJ Dread Knight was not the highest priced hero. Turns out that
Hmm.
the highest priced hero last night was a level 1 rare gardening knight, and it was selling listed price for a whopping 398,000 jewel. Now I don't know whether or not it'll sell. Probably not.
Yeah.
For whoever's trying to sell that, you're probably asking for a little too much. Um,
So my thinking
Pricing.
behind saying that that was false, the Mythic Dread Knight, is that
Yeah.
I don't think they're for sale very often at all, and I think people put ridiculous prices on bad heroes all the time. So
Mhm.
having that as the most expensive hero, I don't think is super likely either.
Yeah. Um, so question for you. Um, and it's conversations I've had with people, and at this point, I don't think it's a secret because I've heard many people talk about this. It's one of the reasons I appreciate your site. Being able to sort by PJ.
Mhm.
I find that to be valuable. I think for me, that's where the value's at. Um, what do you value most in your heroes?
Oh,
And it may not be the one thing. I mean, there's probably, I know people who value all sorts of different things.
I think it's not an in-game stat, but I do value growth score the most, actually.
Interesting. Why growth score versus the class?
Because heroes are generally very low level, and they have 90 levels left to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and that will turn out to be a lot more stats than they've already gotten. So the class score I still don't think is super relevant. When we get combat heroes, we'll get more experience and high level quests and stuff like that. And I think having level 20, 30 heroes, selling something that's a high level right now, which might be like level 6, 7, and buying something that's level 1 but is of a higher rarity, something that I would do myself. I generally don't buy heroes for their growth score. I have 4 elite heroes, 3 sages, and a dragoon. 3
Mm-hmm.
I've summoned myself.
Wow.
With heroes, I've summoned myself. I've generally just bought basic heroes. Um, and it was quite recently that I got my first gens hero. It was like, I think, a month and a half ago now.
Nice.
Um,
Nice. That's impressive. So, and then for myself as well, can you explain to us the difference between the class and the growth score and why those are relevant in your opinion?
Class score is a measurement of the stats on the hero. If you like multiply them by the growth of the main class, it's So the thought behind it is that a knight might have skills in combat in the future that scale off of their
Mm,
most high growth stats. What's true also is that they have relatively high scaling vitality, and they also have a relatively high HP growth. There are three different chances: small, medium, and large for HP, right? So
hmm.
on average per level, I think it's a knight gains, or it's maybe a paladin, 1.25 health per level per vitality, and a ninja gains like 0.75 health per level per vitality. So by that measurement, vitality is a much more valuable stat for knights, paladins, stuff like that, than for
Yeah.
a ninja, because they gain more from it, right?
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that
yeah.
will be true for the other stats too. Like having strength on a paladin will give them more damage in the end, and having more strength on a ninja isn't necessarily as good. So that's the thinking behind it. And so class score versus growth score. Class score is their stats right now, and growth score is, it's kind of a weird thing to. So growth score doesn't actually measure the growth of the main class. It takes all growth but the main class growth, because all knights have the same base growth, right?
Hmm.
So we don't care about it. We remove that from the equation. And everything but the base main class growth we multiply by the main class growth, because that's how valuable the stats are relative to each other. So
Interesting.
vitality from the subclass is very valuable for a knight. So if it's a paladin subclass knight, that gets a much higher growth score than a knight wizard, for example.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Things you don't consider, for sure. So, I mean, we could go on forever. I do want to be respectful of time, so maybe we have you come back at some point in time. Um, but what I'll do, before we go to closing remarks, I do have a King Sumo that was advertised, and sent that out, and I advertised it during the chat. Closed a few minutes ago, and without doxing the individual, I'll go ahead and say that you had a 3.46% chance of winning. Those were your probabilities. And it's an at gmail.com address. If you have an at gmail.com address, you're already one step ahead. Um, and I'll just say the first couple letters of the email address here, and I'll reach out via email. You'll have 48 hours to sort of respond, and try and get your address, send that out to you. And if I don't hear back, I'll go ahead and sort of reroll and go to the next person here. But the first few letters are CRYPT, so crypt. And then there's more to that. So if that's you, congratulations. You've just won an uncommon summoner. And
Ooh.
we'll see. Maybe we do some more of these in the future. Uh, Closing remarks here for myself. Yes, Kupo, not you this time, unless you came up with a different email address. Kupo won our last raffle, a goose, pet goose, and I give him a hard time, and I let him
Ooh.
know that I joke with him saying he wins everything, and he's really won my raffle, which was sort of ironically funny. Um,
I
I would
really
I
want a pet goose. That
I
sounds really cool.
Yes, pet goose. That's where it's at. Pet. We get like I said, we can talk on for a while. I'd love to have you back, but I do want to just end with some closing remarks.
Mhm.
Thank you very much for joining me. Anything you would share with someone who's either new to DFK or who maybe has been in DFK for some time? Um, what would you tell them? What would you say?
Definitely join the AMAs, and then
Hmm.
Mondays in the Discord. Join the Discord and talk to people. Just look at Medium articles by Samick Punch and the docs, I think, in DeFi Kingdoms are a really great resource. I
Yeah.
think that's kind of it for definitely being in the Discord. That's kind of the biggest thing, right?
No,
But
no,
also,
no.
thanks for having me. It's been really fun
No, I'm
to do
glad you
this.
had fun. I was looking forward to our conversation. Like I said, one of my favorite sites. It's not the only site I use, but it's one I use often. I will say for those of you listening, I love doing these. I certainly do. I want to do more of these. Feel free to subscribe, hit that like notification button, follow me on Twitter. Tell your friends about it. The more people listen, maybe I'll do more of these. Right now, I'm trying to do them, once a week. I know there's definitely interested people who want to come on and want to squeeze them all in for sure. If you would like to be on the show, either as a guest, or um, if you have someone you would want to recommend or suggest to be on the show, feel free to let me know. Feel free to tweet at me or send me a message on Discord. Feel free to leave a comment. Go ahead and check that out. Otherwise, we'll catch you at the next one. Thank you all.